Greetings from the Indian Himalayas, and thank you to all the organizers for inviting me here. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here in such august company, actually. So in my presentation, I will first begin with the history of our work, which is maybe 1/3 of my presentation, and then I will go into the cultivation of indigo and how we moved into this direction. I also want to bring a third perspective to this whole story of natural dyes. One part is the land, the environment, people, economics, technology. But there is the X factor, like we say with indigo, that if the relationship between the vat and the dyer is not good, the blue will not come. No matter the chemistry, no matter the indigo pigment, natural, synthetic, doesn't really matter. So the story of natural dyes actually brings us to the heart. It takes us away from technology in some ways. It is important, but it's important to acknowledge that there is an X factor which we do not understand, which we do not know about, and respect that. So that's where I would like to begin. This is the view from my office. I live and work in a remote Himalayan village which touches the border with 2 countries. It takes me 14 hours to get to Delhi, the capital of the country, 7 hours of mountain journey, just so you understand where I'm coming from. Our work really began with the change of lifestyle for my husband and myself. We moved from the city of Delhi to a very small village to change our lifestyle. And what does that mean? We didn't want to earn more to spend more. We wanted to decrease our needs, our own personal way of living, to be able to be sustainable. Because sustainability begins with us. It doesn't begin with anybody else. What is our lifestyle choice? What we wear, what we eat, how much we wear. So there is the issue of natural dyes, and there is the issue of consumption and fast fashion. I don't know how to bring the two together, because the fast has to go. Then only we move to natural dyes. So for us, the beginning, the organization Avani was founded in 1999. The work began in 96. And in the last so many years, we are now working in 108 villages of 2 districts, covering about 25,000 people in all. The work is empowerment. The work is bringing opportunity where there is none. The work is how to create income, where people are migrating from the villages to the cities for lack of livelihood. Do we want the cities to be overpopulated and do all investment in cities? Or do we want to take work and technology to villages so there is more income and there is more sustainability? So the issue of people's lifestyle is very important for us. That is the basis. The farmer and the artisans are the most important people in this whole cycle. This is the Avani Center. This is our main office. We live on rainwater. We have no supply of water. We live on rainwater. We collect about 700,000 liters of rainwater. We recycle 100% of the wastewater we use to grow vegetables, and that includes entire natural dyeing processes. About 55 people live on campus. I live here, actually. So in our entire work, there has been a marriage of technology and sustainability. All the energy we produce and use comes either from solar energy or from burning the leaves of pine trees. We produce electricity by burning the leaves of pine trees. We produce about 33 kilowatts from solar and 10 kilowatts of electricity from pine needle gasification. So all the textiles you see have been produced through clean energy processes as well. So the carbon footprint of our product is very low. So I will talk specifically about the Earthcraft enterprise that was set up for the Textile and Natural Dye Initiative. It is a people's cooperative owned by artisans and farmers. About 2,000 families benefit from it. Just to give a perspective, the land holding size in our part of the world is very small. It could be 1/20th of an acre, very small. So farmers don't have huge tracts of land. Accessibility is an issue. About 75% of villages where we work, you have to walk from the roadhead. About 1 hour to 3 hours. That is when you reach the first village. So we began with reviving the art of hand spinning, hand weaving, and the art of natural dyeing. Because we said that if we want to set up livelihoods, we do not wish to be responsible for soil and water pollution, because dyes form a very big part of textiles. So we learned from village artisans about traditional dyes. So we work with the empowerment of women and girls. We wanted to impact the outmigration of boys, but that's not what happened. What happened was school dropout girls who were married early, they became full-time weavers, and their age of marriage got postponed by 6 to 10 years because they were earning members of the family. They were socially vulnerable women who had no source of livelihood, and they have been working with us between 18 to 20 years. They have educated their children, built homes, and supported themselves. Our emphasis is very much on local resources, people, and skills. So our entire team is from villages where we work. Our job has been capacity building and training the team to, all these textiles you see have been produced by the rural team, starting from quality control to finance to everything. So we want to bring technology to a very, very remote village in the Himalayas. We started natural dyeing 20 years ago. We have experimented with more than 80 plants of our region, and we took a decision that we will only work with plants that are plentifully available. We are not going to harvest if we don't grow. So we started the cultivation of natural dyes because we saw the opportunity there. Just to introduce the subject here, as we started working with purchase of natural dyes, people started planting trees. It has a direct impact on forest and a direct impact on wasteland. In villages where people are migrating outside, there's nobody to cultivate the land. So indigo became a very good opportunity, mainly because monkeys don't attack this crop. They don't like indigo. So with the natural dyes, as we started producing the raw material, we saw, let us make some applications. We also made extract and pigment with the natural dyes. And the applications you see here are art supplies for children or artists. So these are 100% beeswax crayons. And the watercolors, the painting is with our watercolors. You see the powders to the left. And at the bottom is the wood application, the coloring of wood with natural dyes. We are also working with the removal of invasive species called eupatorium, which is choking the forests across the Himalayas. We make these 3 colors with it, as you see, and extract and pigment. We are looking for users who would help remove this invasive species from the forest. So this is the dye extraction unit. It has been set up in a very remote forest. If you go there, you say, my God, in the middle of this forest, what is this machine doing? But this area produces very large amounts of walnut. So we process the walnut, convert it to extract and pigment, and then transport it, because transportation costs are very high for us. So sorry, just these powders, the eupatorium, on the left is pomegranate, in the middle is walnut, and to the right is eupatorium. We also developed a printing paste, which is ready to use. And we want to convert dyers so they can start using natural dye paints. On the bottom right is our dyeing team. This is the group that now handles all the dye operations. Now I'll come to indigo. Historically, I think we are all aware that it was a crop of exploitation, especially in India. There was a big production of indigo, and from the data that we saw, we were exporting 19,000 tons in 1897 of natural indigo from India. And in 2002, 17,000 tons of synthetic indigo was produced worldwide. So pretty much all natural dyes, natural indigo was replaced. So we were looking at an option, at an opportunity which would allow the farmer and the industry to benefit. So in India, it was associated with exploitation of farmers because the British obliged the farmers to grow indigo, sometimes in the place of food grains and sometimes as a percentage of the total crop. That led to starvation and deaths in Bengal and Bihar. So Gandhiji, a social activist, a well-known personality across the world, he led a movement to revolt against indigo. So the moment we said, I even uttered the word indigo, the first question was, how are you going to grow it? Will it be a crop of exploitation? So we looked at the whole story of pollution again, and we said, we must work with natural indigo. And we made it a story of revival and empowerment, invoking the goddess of indigo to come to our mountains, because never it has been grown in that part of the world. Indigo blue has a soul aspect. It is healing, it creates balance and harmony. And that was the beginning for us. At the beginning, we started the trials 10 years ago. We took Indigofera tinctoria, which is a tropical crop, and we started growing it in our fields as a pilot. And we saw that the plant did really well. For 3 years, we only multiplied the seed, and we realized that this could be an amazing crop. During that time, we also made trials with polygonum, and that also had very good survival. Slowly, the idea developed that since we are working from almost 500 meters to 2,000 meters, we could possibly grow altitude-specific indigos. So we decided to work with 3 varieties, which is Strobilanthes cusia, Polygonum tinctorium, and Indigofera tinctoria. So starting with Indigofera, we found that beginning with 20 families 5 years ago, this last year we had 270 families which cultivated indigo. They have taken very well to it. We saw that it reclaims wasteland. In our part of the world, there is no consolidated land holding. So I may have a lot of land, but every field will be scattered. So earlier, as 200 families stayed together, they could grow the crops and guard them against pests. But now what has happened, in villages that had 200 families, 30 families are left. So most of the land is just lying vacant. And imagine the soil erosion that happens during monsoon. So we said, okay, let's use it only for regeneration. Let's forget about income for now. We said, okay, just plant indigo on your wasteland, let the nitrogen fixing happen, and it increases your productivity, and then go for food grains. So that is how the whole process started. And as you see, on the left is Strobilanthes cusia, on the top right is Polygonum, and bottom is Indigofera tinctoria. Our model is totally decentralized because the villages are far away. We cannot do mechanized, it's not possible to do mechanized harvesting or processing. And even central processing is not possible. So we had to develop our own model and learn a lot on the way. We made so many mistakes, I can't even count. Mistakes in cultivation, mistakes in harvesting, mistakes in extraction. But now we've reached a little further than we were, and the results are pretty okay. So now we are cultivating these 3 varieties and the extraction of pigment. We have already been doing natural dyeing with indigo in fermentation vats for about 15 years now. So we also do the dyeing with all the 3. As you see, this is how the extraction happens, the soaking of the pigment, the indigo leaves. This is at our main center, and on the left is the Indigofera when it's the film, the blue film is on top. We had to improvise a lot. And this is the Avani Himalayan blue. On the left is Indigofera tinctoria, and on the right is the lake for Strobilanthes. The color is amazingly different. What has been beautiful for us is it has never been done before in this region. So the results are a surprise. We didn't know what we will get because the soil quality is different, the conditions are different, and the blue we got was stunning actually. So this is the lake of indigo, and yeah, when it's filtering. Sorry, it's not going forward for some reason. It's not moving. So as we were growing polygonum, we also trained ourselves to make sukumo. So Hisako Sumi, who is a well-known researcher from Japan, she came to Avani and she taught us how to make sukumo. So now we are also making sukumo with polygonum. And on the right is the strobilanthes pigment. The first one was Indigo tinctoria. And last October, we have set up 2,000 liter indigo dyeing vats. We've set up 2 very large vats, and that is using only our Avani Himalayan blue. This is to dye fabric as well as the yarns. It's something totally new that we've started to increase our capacity. And as you can see now, we are doing cotton, linen, and wool. We have still more to learn in cotton, but the results are not bad. Then we also did some resist printing. We developed some Himalayan vegetation specific blocks. So this is a very typical plant in the Himalayas. So we wanted our blocks only to reflect the Himalayas. So there is a whole collection of blocks we have made. And on the right is hand woven linen in our Himalayan blue. It's about 10 dips that we did. And this is Hisako with at the time of making our first sukumo. This was in 2016 that she was with us. So what we have seen is that the income of the farmers has been quite amazing. Till today, if I convert it to RMB, the total income of farmers has been 94,382 RMB in the last 5 years only with indigo. So it is a very good economic decision for the farmer actually. And we calculated the per acre costs. Per acre costs are about 5,000 RMB per year. And the total, because in our area we cannot take 3 crops, we take maximum 2 cuttings from the same crop. So in that case, the farmer has to work 7 to 10 days. That's all. So if he's able to earn 5,000 RMB with just 7 to 10 days of work, they found it a good economic choice. We've harvested about 43,000 kg of indigo tinctoria till now and made some pigment as well. Earlier we were making pigment with lime because that's how we were taught. But last year we made only without lime, we just oxidized it by changing the pH, and that's where we've reached. And till today we have paid an income, I mean the cash income of people has been about 3.85 crore. I don't know how to convert that in RMB, but yeah. And it has led to the invasive species have been removed. The women and girls have been empowered, and it impacts about 2,000 families. And the whole process is a closed loop. All the outputs, once we have finished processing the indigo, the raw material goes to compost pits, the water goes to the fields, and so every step it is recycled. And as I said earlier, we are using solar power, pine needle gasification, and rainwater collection for the environmental focus. And these are the women and children that we are impacting. One of the aims for us is how to have a traceable supply chain for natural dyes. We all purchase natural dyes from the open market, usually. We don't know what the farmer is getting. But in our case, we try to ensure that the farmer gets a fair wage. Everything else comes after. So the 6 dyes that we produce we know exactly which farmers are growing it and what is the income they are making. So we want to ensure that supply chain and work with people who are interested in that. So it has been a wonderful, inclusive model that we have been able to set up. And yeah, thank you very much for your patience.